from horror to satire, and basically, that's good. The other film we're going to talk about is a film that I've seen countless times, and again, is not that frightening, but is a diabolical ride into hell. It's called The People Under the Stairs, and stars Ving Rhames as a burglar. It also stars... Can't even read this. Brandon Adams. Stories about a burglary gone wrong and the horrific aftermath. There is a home that's fortified, and it's run by two evil, diabolical people. One played by Everett McGill. And I gotta tell you, Everett McGill in this film is a little bit of a creepy dude. He wears bondage outfits and he hunts a kid that he has trapped in the floor of the house named Roach. Roach has no tongue. Basically, in the film, they kidnap a lot of kids. You see, missing kids everywhere, right? Missing posters, whatever. In the meantime, Ving Rhames and who did I say it was? Brandon Adams. They try to rob this place. In robbing so, they get captured. Ving Rhames ends up dying. And Brandon Adams ends up finding what happened to these missing kids. Now, it's a ridiculous premise, but it could happen anywhere. I mean, just a couple years ago, we've had cases like this in Ohio, where kids get missing, kids are held hostage. I forget the name of the idiot's name, but he killed himself before he could face trial. But things like this do happen. And it's one of the more scary things. And again, the film does have a happy ending, but it's not a scary movie. It's not going to keep you up at night, but it draws out suspense. Now, there is a comical scene in here that I will never forget. In fact, I laugh at every time I see it. As I just told you, Everett McGill likes to run around the house in bondage gear. And Roach is in the walls. And he peeks through a vent. And Roach takes a slingshot and shoots a rock, hits him in the head. But before that, Everett McGill looks and goes, sees Roach, shoots a shotgun bullet at him, right? Misses. And he goes, "Gonna kill you!" Just like that. Roach takes a slingshot, shoots a rock, hits him right in the face, drops him. And it was probably not intentionally funny, but it comes off very, very comedic, guys, I gotta tell you. So, The People Under the Stairs is a good one. You can actually find it if you have Showtime. You can see it now, I believe. I believe it's on there. It may be on Hulu. I don't know. But for a double feature for $10, you really can't go wrong. Two good Wes Craven films for the price of one. Now, Craven also did one starring Bill Pullman called The Serpent and the Rainbow. This is about voodoo and zombies in Haiti. And it's based on a real case. You guys should look that one up. Because again, that to me would be more terrifying than these. Now, Wes Craven also did a very, very terrifying movie, I believe in '74, and it was called Last House on the Left. He collaborated with Sean Cunningham, and they made what could only be described as a window into a murder. A very brutal murder at that. It's about 3 or 4 people that escaped from a mental asylum, and they're living in the city, and they target 2 young girls who want to go see a concert and get high. Well, the interesting story about this one is they end up murdering the girls really brutally, right? And it was remade a couple of times, but what happens is the murderers end up staying at the girl's house that they killed their parents. Their parents find out what happened to the girls, and they take revenge into their own hands. And it's a definite must watch if you're a horror fan. There's 3 different versions from what I understand out there. You can buy them. Arrow Video has them out. You can check them out. But if you have not seen Last House on the Left, the original from 74, you are definitely missing one of the best brutal murder revenge films there ever would be. And while we're on the topic of revenge, we're going to talk about one that probably no one has heard of. And it is the one that set the bar for Kill Bill. It laid the foundation, if you will. It's called Thriller, A Cruel Picture. Now, it is subtitled. You can find it in English. But, let me read what it says. First of all, this is an abduction revenge film. And it's from the 70s. It's from 74. Same year that Last House on the Left was released. And basically, it's about a girl taken away from her home. She is used as a prostitute. And the scenes are very, very graphic. I mean, some of the stuff really should be an X rating. She ends up learning how to fight, learning how to shoot a shotgun and an Uzi, and basically takes revenge on her captors. Same scenario as Kill Bill. In fact, Quentin Tarantino has mentioned this film countless times in Kill Bill reviews. Now, you could probably find this one on Amazon. I know it was a limited run. I do not have the film. Or do I? But anyway, you can probably find this on Amazon, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's crazy. And actually, there was a scene in here that was filmed with an actual corpse. There's an eye gouging scene that at the time looked pretty damn real, and it pretty looked damn disturbing. So check it out. Now, there is one out there called Thriller. They call her One Eye. That is the edited version of the film. If you can find it, check it out. But, you know, real collectors, we get the hardcore stuff. Or we go out and find them. I'm speaking as we, not just me. But anyway. Trying to think of the girl that's in here. Christina Lindbergh. You guys can look her up. She's pretty hot. She's probably 50 right now, but she's pretty hot. But check that out. Quentin Tarantino has called this the roughest revenge film ever made. I would like to disagree. I would like to disagree on that particular point, because I think I Spit on Your Grave is probably more rougher than this one. And if you guys haven't seen that, I know I did a movie review about it a while ago, a long time ago. But that film is about a woman who goes to write a book in the woods. She is gang raped countless times by a number of, I don't want to say savages, but a number of inhabitants, we'll just put it that way, delinquents. She then turns the tables on these guys and seduces them one by one. That film, for any guy, is tough to watch. Especially a bathtub scene involving a butcher knife. I'm not going to go into it any further. It is one of the hardest movies to watch because you sit there and you watch what happens. And it makes you afraid to be with a woman because you're like, okay, if she sees this, guess what? I'm dead. They did remake the movie in 2010. Now, the 2010 version is a little bit more believable in terms of realism. It puts everything in modern day stuff. Cell phones are used, and it's crazy. They actually made a sequel to this one, guys. I Spit on Your Grave 2. This has a whole new woman and a whole new set of situations that occur. Gemma DeLander plays Katie, who has dreams of becoming a model in New York City. Unfortunately, the photos worked in her small Midwestern town aren't cutting in Big Apple. Broke and desperate and need to update her book, Katie calls a number from a tear-off flyer. First thing you don't do, guys, in a horror movie is call a number you see sitting on a flagpole. That's always bad news. But innocent attempt to update her portfolio quickly turns into the unthinkable murder or nightmare of rape, torture, kidnapping, where she's stripped away, beaten, and who knows, battered, bruised, left for dead. See, I told you, do not call any number in a horror film. I remember one scene in here, and it's too graphic for me to even describe, but let's just say that at the end of this film, justice is served. Now, what this film does is it takes an ordinary, innocent woman who probably would never dream of violence in her life, and it turns her into an ultimate killing machine. And this is done by the same dude who did Spit on Your Grave 2010. This thing isn't even rated, and if you want to, guys, if you're interested in revenge films or you just like the first one, you know, you can go to www.spitonyourgrave.com. I have never been there. But this is a horror film that was brought back from the dead from the 74 version. And I tell you what, the tagline for the original in 74 said, "A woman has just chopped, burned, mutilated, you know, X number of people. No jury in America would blame her." And after seeing the movie, you kind of fall into that category. My man Ryan Nicholson took that revenge scenario and kicked it up hardcore in a bowling alley in my film Gutterballs, his film. It's called my film because it's one of my favorite horror films, so just wanted to clear that up. But if you like, you know, those 70s revenge plots, check those out. I mean, horror has tons of revenge movies in it. I mean, you throw a rock and you can find a revenge film. It's always some dude, like, look at what I did, you know, that movies I did, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Same thing. Teens hit a car or hit somebody with a car. Next thing you know, you got a hook guy coming back, taking them out one by one, you know. Just little things like that. And I want to talk about one more film because it is by far one of the most classic horror films in all of film history. In fact, it's probably started the horror boom, and it made showers very, 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 very frightening if you're in a hotel. And I'm talking about Alfred Hitchcock's I don't even know when it was made here. Doesn't even say. But we're talking about Psycho. And it is a very, very pivotal moment in horror because it started a revolution of horror films that came after it. It also I could say so much about this film, tell you the truth, but it is named number 1 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills list. This is not a typical slasher film. This is not a gore film. This is a suspense movie, and it stars Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh. Janet Leigh, for you guys who don't know in the horror community, was actually, that was her name, Jamie Lee Curtis's mother. You can make that connection. It has to deal with Marion Crane. Marion Crane is played by Janet Leigh. She embezzles some money. To get away from it all, she's going on a cross-country trip. She stops at the infamous Bates Motel, ran by Norman Bates. Norman Bates has a little bit of a secret, guys. that goes through 4 movies. He was domineered by his mother. His mother doesn't want anybody around, and when Norman gets close to him, hint, hint, guys, he dresses up like his mother and kills the victims in the Bates Motel. What's shocking to this is the first time I saw it, it is laid out in such a way where you don't know till the end of the film that Norman Bates' mother is dead. But when you watch the film, if you haven't seen it, or you know someone, don't give them away the idea that Norman does dress up like his mother, sort of like the Ed Gein thing, you know. The other interesting thing is the camera work. There was so many cuts made to that shower scene to make it look like the brutal murder was actually real, was ungodly. They recreated it faithfully in the Vince Vaughn version of Psycho with William H. Macy. The other thing is that the ending is a moment you won't forget. It is a classic because nothing like this has ever been done like that. And for a black and white movie, and I know right now some people are going, you know, black and white, that's old, that's garbage. But guys, give black and white a chance. Psycho is good. Twilight Zone, that were in black and white, were good. You know, so just because it's not modern doesn't mean it's not good or not classic. You go into any motel by yourself, shut the door to a shower, and if you think about that scene, your heart kicks up a little bit, your adrenaline goes, and you're terrified. That's power. Just like the first time, you know, anyone has seen Jaws. You know, Jaws had the ability to frighten people to where they wouldn't go in the water. I was afraid to swim in a pool, for God's sakes, because the vision and the paranoia you get when you think about that. That's why these films are so successful. You know, they make ordinary places terrifying. You know? Just like Cellar, with what I told you with Chud. You know, you get that vision in your head in a dark room. You don't know what's behind the dark. You don't know what lurks behind a closed door. That's why these films work. Is because they prey and they play on our terror. You know? Anything can be terrifying. You can take an elevator and make it frightening. You could take an ocean, make it terrifying. Hell, you could take a golf course and make it frightening if you know how to do it. But the reason I bring up Psycho is because it is one of the first horror films I had ever seen. And it's legendary, and like I said, it really left a mark on you because, like I said, it made showers terrifying. Not only that, the performances by the entire cast are very believable. Not only that, directed by one of the masters, Alfred Hitchcock, who did one of the best shows he's ever done, the Alfred Hitchcock Hour. Did you ever see The Man from Rio? You guys should check that one out. Definitely check it out, about bets that go horribly wrong. And I don't think I would be into horror if I wasn't so transfixed on this film. This film changed the industry. It also was redone, like I said, with Vince Vaughn. Now, this one here is put out by Universal. I never seen it, but you can get it. It has a lot of bonus stuff with it. You can see the newsreel footage, the shower scene, photo archives, behind the scenes, lobby cards, and more. This thing was big, guys. Now, it did spawn a couple of sequels, none of which were as good as the original. The second one dealt with Norman coming home, dealing with harassing phone calls while trying to get his life in straight. Number 3 was probably one of the worst reviewed movies in history. It's about a nun who runs away to the Bates Motel after something happened. He lives with Norman. Norman hires another person to help with the motel who finds out his dirty little secret and is trying to blackmail Norman. It was pretty good, but my favorite is Psycho number 4. Why is Psycho 4 my favorite? Because people are going, 4, you pretty much ran the horror franchise into the ground. No, 4 is my favorite because not only does the kid from E.T. play in it, can't think of his name. I cannot think of his name, guys. It's a kid from E.T. What the hell was his name? Henry Thomas is in it. He plays young Norman Bates. Norman is on the phone when the film begins to a radio personality. And for the first time in the Psycho franchise, you get to see why Norman is the way he is. It goes back to the Genesis and it shows you why he killed his mother. And he committed matricide. It also opens up the door to Psycho 1. Now you understand why. And it's done in a very cool way because it closes out the Psycho saga, but it also gives you a backstory, and it is one of the more entertaining ones. And you would think Psycho 4, number 4, being, like I said, a tired retread of 1, 2, and 3. No. Psycho 4 is actually the most well-done film in the franchise next to number 1. And, like I said, you get to see how Norman Bates became the way he is. Psycho 2 and 3, they're okay. But Henry Thomas's performance is amazing, and I don't think he gets a lot of credit for this. People just go Henry Thomas E.T. No. Henry Thomas, Psycho 4, best movie he did. So, they also did a TV movie called The Bates Motel with Bud Cort and Lori Petty. I'm not even going to go into that, although Lori Petty and Bud Cort had pretty good performances in it. The film was actually... I think Jason Bateman is actually into this. It was a made-for-TV movie. It doesn't even say what year. I know it was out a long time. I remember it being on TV when VCRs just come out, so that's how long ago that is. Coincidentally, we did go down to Universal Studios and see the Bates Motel, and they had a big fire there. And it was one of the things that wasn't touched. But the cabin from Great Outdoors was right beside it. It got pretty torched, guys. So look, I've been up for a while. It's about 3:45 in the morning. So we're going to call it, and we'll see you tomorrow on Movie Talk. By the way, if you guys were wondering about my shirt, it's from the movie Cannibal Holocaust, which I talked about is one of the most controversial films of all time. Director Rodrigo Deodato had to go to trial because in the film, they actually killed some animals in real life. He actually, at the end of the film, had all the stars get ripped apart by natives. He actually had to produce the cast and crew of the film and tell them that it was basically just a movie because they actually thought that natives actually killed. So you can check that all out. But yeah, this is the t-shirt from it. You can get it from rottencotton.com. And hey, that's Movie Talk, and I hope you enjoyed, today's show. I hope you learned a little bit something about Wes Craven films. I hope you check out Psycho as well as I Spit on Your Grave. And like I said, if I get you to watch something, great. If you watch it and don't like it, still good. At least you gave it a try. So look, GW, it's Movie Talk. Catch up with you later.